In this video, we're going to take a look at Activity 3, Question 1 from Section 2.1. And we went through a lot of this already in a separate video. We looked at this information here, the distance you could pull back a car and the distance it's traveled, and we created a scatter plot for this information, and we answered some questions using the scatter plot to try to predict some other information. Part C says to create this scatter plot using Desmos with the distance pulled back on the horizontal axis. So that's going to be like our input value, and the distance traveled on the vertical axis. All right, so let's go through Desmos. Make sure you have this table handy because you're going to need these points right here. So what Desmos is a website. So what you want to do is you want to open a browser and go to www.desmos.com. And at any point you need to pause the video to get caught up here or to make sure you understand. Please do that. When you get to desmos.com, hit Graphing Calculator. And you're going to see something that looks like this. All right, so this area over here on the left is where you can input things, including equations and tables, and we're going to do a table. This area over here on the right is where things are going to get graphed out. This wrench is a place where you can change the settings, and here is zoom in and zoom out. Now up here you'll also notice there's a place for you to log in or sign up. Signing up is free. All you have to do is provide an email address. It's really non-intrusive as far as the information that they ask you, and they're not sending you emails or anything like that. In this way, if you sign up, you can save the work that you do, and I would encourage you guys to do that. And we'll talk about these buttons here in a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to go over here and we want to add a table. All right, so we're going to hit plus over here to add an item, and we're going to add a table. So we see we have a table here with X as defined as these will be the values on our horizontal axis, and these will be the values on our vertical axis. So what we want to do now is just start inputting the data from the table. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the exact order it's shown in the book, just not to confuse anybody. So we have 6 and 23.57. You could rearrange it if you want to in the order that we talked about from least to greatest. And you can use the tab button to move around your table, or you can just take your mouse and click. So I'm just using tab and 8 and 31.12, 1 and 8.95, and 2 and 13.86. All right, so we have all this data input here. Now nothing's showing up over here. Well, the reason is because of the scale of the graph. All right, I have a point at 1 and approximately 9, but I can't see it because it's off the graph up here. So there's a couple ways to change this area on the right-hand side so you can see what's happening. The first way is just to click and drag it. Oh, there's a point right there. There's our 0.18.5. Another way is to use this wrench. So if I hit this wrench, I'll get graph settings. The setting that we want to mess with here is the x-axis or the horizontal axis. The horizontal axis for us represents the distance pulled back. So I can just click there and then get rid of that, and say I want to go from 0 to, well, we went to 10, so let's just go to 12. 0, so you put the smallest value here, and then you come over here and you're going to put the largest x value you want. It goes up to 10 on our graph, but let's do 12 so we can see it. And actually sometimes I go a little bit less than 0 so I can see this axis here. Okay, so the y value, that's the distance traveled. Our smallest value is 9. But let's just go ahead and go from 0 so we can see our axis, or maybe even -1. Up to our largest distance traveled was 38.66, so let's go to 40. All right, when you're done with that, you just click the graph area, and now you can see And actually, let me move this up. And then, again, you can just grab it and move it around when you kind of get it where you want. So here's all of our points. I think we have one point we're not quite seeing. There it is. So another thing you can do is use the scroll on your mouse. Once you get this set up, you can use the scroll on your mouse to zoom in and out. Another shortcut, I want to show you guys another shortcut for seeing these values. I'm going to click home, and that's going to take me back to where it was before. Now you can't see this, but I am going to press and hold the shift button. Okay, so I'm pressing and holding the shift button. Notice my mouse thing changes here. I'm going to move my mouse close to the x-axis, and then I'm just going to pull left or right, and that just changes the x-axis. I'm still holding down the shift button. If I come up here and pull down, now I can start to see those. Now I'm going to let go of the shift. I'm going to move this over here. I still kind of want to change this horizontal axis a little bit, so I'm going to hold shift and zoom out. I'm going to keep holding shift and move down. I kind of find that easier than using this little wrench tool. All right, but holding the shift button allows you to zoom in on the X or the Y separately. Okay, so here we have our scatter plot. Pretty neat. Now, one thing that it says in the book is to label your axes. Let's go back to this settings here. And so on the x-axis, we can add a label. So we can say distance pulled back, and then inches. And on the y-axis, we can say distance traveled and inches. Cool. So see how that showed up here? Pretty neat, huh? Now let's say I wanted to share this with my instructor. And for my class, I'll have you guys share this picture. So all you have to do is hit this little button right here, share graph, and it pops up a link. So then I'm going to copy that link, and then I can go to Canvas and I can paste that into the comment section or where I'm uploading my work. Now if I wanted to save this, I'm going to go ahead and sign in. I'm going to pause the video while I sign in. Okay, so I've logged in, so now here it says Chris, and once you sign up and log in, then you can save your stuff as well. So let's say I want to save this graph, so I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to title it, I'm going to title this Math 87, Section 2.1, Activity 3, and this is question 1C. So I'm going to save that. All right, so next time I log in, if I wanted to pull up this graph, I'd go over here to these three bars. These are all things I've saved. Okay, so let's say I pull up some calculus graph that I've saved from before, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I really want to go back to that Math 87 graph. So there it is right there, and I can open it. If I, log back in tomorrow, this is going to be here, so I can save this, which is pretty neat. If you want to see what the coordinates of these points are, you can come and just click on these points. All right, and that'll highlight those, which is kind of nice. All right, if you were to go over here and change some value in your table, it would automatically update over here in the graph. So I encourage you guys to mess around with that. And we'll be using Desmos throughout the course and also in Math 88.